Hello, my lovely Booktube friends. How are you? Merry Christmas season. I hope that you are doing so well right now. I am going to give you some of my favorite Christmas reading recommendations. And I'm going to start with a couple of things that you could do for Advent if you're a Christian family and you want to take your minds and hearts closer to Christ. My first recommendation is just reading a chapter of Luke a day. That will take you from December 1st to Christmas Eve, because there are 24 chapters in the book of Luke. And one of my favorite songs right now is It's About the Cross. And it just makes me think, reading through the birth all the way to the death, his ministry and his death and his resurrection. It's about the cross. It's about my sin. It's about how Jesus came to be born once so that we could be born again. So the book of Luke, for those of you that are Christians and are doing Advent, wonderful choice. The other one that is a family, this is more if you have kids you're reading to, is Jotham's Journey. And I do not know how to pronounce this author's name. Arnold Ytreeide, I think. Please correct me. I believe this is a Hebrew name. If you speak Hebrew, please tell me how to pronounce this correctly. I tried to find out. I couldn't get that. But this is starting the first Sunday of Advent, all the way through Christmas Day. There's a little story that is fictional, leading up to the birth of Jesus. And at the end of the stories, there is like a little devotional you can share with your family. So just kind of keeping your heart and mind on the reason for the season. And I would tell you that if you have very young kids, there are some scary moments. So just be aware of that. But I really enjoyed doing this last year, and we're going on to the next book in the series this year. I'm so excited. So classics. I love classics. And of course, you cannot talk about Christmas classics without talking about A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. I read this every year. For the last few years, we've done it as an audiobook as a family, and we do the Jim Dale edition. He's the voice of the Harry Potter books as well. I love his voice, and it's about a 3-hour listen if you're doing it as an audiobook. Love it. Dickens just has a way of getting into your heart with his words and finding the root of the problems and the joys of life. Love it. Have to read it every year. I also would recommend, of course, as a former ballet dancer, retired now, E.T.A. Hoffman's The Nutcracker. I have a beautiful edition. It is at my mom's house on my shelf. My dad, who's no longer with me, gave this to me and he inscribed on it. So I wanted to protect it from my real life children. But I have read the E.T.A. Hoffman's Nutcracker to my family. I really recommend it. But don't forget, there is another version of the Nutcracker too. Not quite as good in my estimation as E.T.A. Hoffman's, but it is by Alexander Dumas. And I have read that one too to my children. We enjoyed that one as well. But a lot of times, different versions of the Nutcracker pull parts of both of them or focus more on one version. So if you've read E.T.A. Hoffman's, that might be fun. I would not do them both in the same year, to do it a different year so that you can kind of compare and contrast and see which one you like better. All right, so the next classic that I'm going to recommend, and some people consider this a children's classic, I would consider it a children and adult classic, is Little Women. In Little Women, you have, of course, the March sisters and their wonderful Marmee. Their father's away at the Civil War, and it starts off at Christmas. They're poor themselves, but they know there are people that are poor, and it just such a wonderful Christmas. I think this would be a great thing to do as kind of the 12 days of Christmas, because the book starts off on Christmas Eve, I believe, and then focus a little bit on Christmas Day, and then you have the rest of their story. So it'd be a great thing to start like Christmas Day and take you through the 12 days of Christmas. So going on to middle grade, I have a lot of middle grade on my list because I have children from 9 to 13 years old. So we do a lot of middle grade as a family and have for many years now. So the first two books that I'm going to talk about are Greenglass House by Kate Milford. And this is at an inn where smugglers come through sometimes, and a little boy on his Christmas vacation. And for some reason, all these unexpected guests show up when it's usually their slow season and no one's there, and a mystery develops. There is kind of a crazy twist, and we have a similar thing in the sequel, Ghost of Greenglass House. Just such a fun, cozy vibe. I love the atmosphere of the inn. Highly recommend these books. There are smugglers that are being kind of ignored by the parents, so just I would talk to your kids about thieving is wrong, clearly, even though the parents are ignoring the smugglers are smuggling. And then the next series that is a middle grade that we've enjoyed is Winterhouse. The first two take place at Christmas time, so I'm going to just show you the first two. The third one takes place at Easter, but you're still in a wintry environment, so it might be a good one to read in early March when it's still cold but not quite warm and spring weather yet, but you're getting closer to Easter. So the first one is Winterhouse by Ben Guterson, and this is about a girl who she gets sent to this house. She has a terrible home situation with an aunt and uncle that don't really like her. They're very poor, and so she's sent to Winterhouse. She doesn't know who's sending her here on vacation. They have a wonderful library there, and why she's there, and there's mysteries surrounding the house. It's just so cozy and it's so fun, and there is some magic if you avoid magic in your fiction, so I just want to let you know that. And then The Secrets of Winterhouse is very similar, that it takes place at Christmas time and there are mysteries and just have that cozy hotel environment. All right, the next book I'm going to talk about is The Angel Tree, and this is by Daphne Benedis-Grab, and I read this last year. Sorry, I had to touch my phone for a second. You saw my finger go boop. And it is a story about kids that are all struggling in their own way, and they're coming together to find out who is providing wishes that people put on this angel tree. And I felt like it was very heartwarming. My kids loved it. I loved it. We really enjoyed reading it together. So I own this book, but I cannot find it right now, and that is The True Gift. And this is by Patricia MacLachlin, who is also the author of like Sarah Plain and Tall. And this is a beautiful story, not too long. You can get through it relatively quickly with your family, about a brother and a sister going to their grandparents' house. They love going to their grandparents' house, but there is a cow that is going to be sold, and they want to save the cow. And it's just such a beautiful story, heartwarming. So I really recommend that. This next book is one that I do not own, and that is Winterfrost by Michelle Houts. And this is just a lovely middle grade fantasy about a young girl whose parents have to go away for an emergency on Christmas night. So this is again another great one that maybe start on Christmas and read it through the 12 days of Christmas. And she's left alone with her baby sister, and they forget to put out the special pudding for the niece. I hope I'm pronouncing this right. It's spelled Nisse. So this has some Nordic mythology involved, and I just think this is just the coziest, most beautiful story. I highly recommend it. All right, you guys know I love my cozy mysteries. The first one I'm going to recommend, I listened to this audio last year. I wanted to get a physical copy, and I was gifted this by my sweet friend Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library, and this is Apple Cider Slang. I am reading this to my daughter right now. We're enjoying it, and it's by Julie and Lindsey. She has other names that she writes under, like Bree Baker and Jacqueline Frost. I really enjoy her cozy mysteries, and this is about a young lady who is trying to open an apple cider shop. She has a very special circumstance where her granny is about to lose their apple orchard, and she's trying to save the orchard and get money for starting her apple cider business. And of course, there is a murder that ensues. There is a cute sheriff, and I definitely think that this is one of those, if you love cozy mysteries, it's one of the more well-written ones. Now, this is on the more mysterious and slightly darker side of cozy mysteries, but this was also a gift from Chrissy last year. Rhys Bowen's God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen, and this is in the Royal Spyness Mysteries series. And so we have our protagonist goes to see relatives, and she is related to the royal family. So again, a murder mystery ensues, but we have so much talk of food and coziness, and I just really like the way that Rhys Bowen writes. So those are my recommendations. What are yours? Tell me what I should be reading. I don't know if I have time this Christmas, but in general, what should I be reading in this wonderful season? What are you going to be reading? And what is your favorite Christmas carol? And what is your favorite Christmas treat? I want to hear about all those things. I'll leave my favorite Christmas carols, I guess I have more than one, and my favorite Christmas treats in the comments. All right, I love you guys. Have a Merry Christmas season if you celebrate, and if not, have a wonderful winter. Happy New Year. Goodbye.